And good morning, NAIFA, Minnesota. No, I'm not Walter Bond. I learned everything yesterday not to do in public speaking from Deidre Van Nest. Any of you in the room were at that meeting? Yeah, she told us, didn't she? The title of my message is one that I hope will be as near and dear to your heart as it is to mine. The title of that message is, Who's Going to Fill My Shoes? It's a deep question. As I age and mature in life, I ask myself, have I met all my goals? Have I done everything I wanted to do? Have I done everything on my bucket list? You remember the movie with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman, The Bucket List? I believe I have a responsibility, to me even an obligation, to do certain things before my day is done. Among them, being a good role model, being a good financial advisor, being a good father, a good husband, a good grandfather to, yes, my 10 grandchildren. There's a story to that. Catch me tonight. But more especially than anything else is leaving footprints in the sand, helping to make lives easier for those who follow me. One day, we will not be here. I challenge you to make your bucket list and accomplish everything you possibly can on that list. I have a couple volunteers, my Vanna Whites, Sandy and Jolene, thank you for helping out. I'd like some ideas from the audience. What's on your bucket list? Anyone? Sandy and Jolene will catch you. They have mics. Tell me what's on your bucket list. Share with the group. Anybody have a bucket list?
Here we go.
Ireland. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to visit a ghost town.
A ghost town.
That's good. That's good.
It's one I haven't got.
Here you go. There's a Starbucks card.
Little reward for being participatory. Thank you. One in the back of the room back here. Yes? Raise your hand. The ladies will find you.
I would like to visit all the countries of our 5 foreign exchange daughters.
Oh, good.
Wow.
Here you go.
That's a lot of traveling. 5 exchange daughters. Awesome.
Oh, who's first? Right here.
I would like to scuba dive in the Great Barrier Reef.
Woo! I visited the Great Barrier Reef, but never have scubaed it. Wow.
I would like to hike to the top of Half Dome while I'm still able.
Where was that again? Wow.
California,
Awesome.
Half Dome.
Thank you for sharing. Got a couple gentlemen way over here.
I would like to take my grandkids on a cruise and go scuba diving with them.
That's interesting.
Whoa, I'm running.
That would cost me half of his marketing budget.
I want to learn how to fly. Flight
Wow.
lessons.
Oh, good.
Learning how to fly.
I want to take the 5,000-mile Trans-Siberian rail trip from St. Petersburg to Vladivostok.
Awesome. Awesome.
Starbucks card.
For those of you remaining with items on your bucket list after this last gentleman, catch me later. Share with me.
I'd love to bicycle across Europe.
Bicycle across Europe.
Okay.
My point in that is our days, some people say, are numbered. We don't know how many days we have left. But it's important to fulfill those dreams. To me, I call them responsibilities and obligations. I put that on myself. I hope you will internalize them also. How about those things that I mentioned earlier? Being a good role model. What does that mean to you? Anyone? Being a good role model. Ooh, got silent. To me, being a good role model is doing things right, acting with integrity. Do like you would want your children to do when you're not around. How about being a community leader? Any volunteers? What does that mean to you? For me, that's Rotary International, Lions International, my local Chamber of Commerce, my local community foundation. Anybody else? How about being a good husband or wife, a parent? For me, a grandparent of 10. That's important to me. How about being a good financial advisor? Now, I've got to get some feedback here now. We're all members of the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors. I'm a member of IFA PAC, the Society of Financial Services Professionals, and my $1 Million Roundtable. That's important to me. Leaving footprints in the sand. Anybody out there want to share what it means to you to leave footprints in the sand? Okay, I'm dominating this part. One gentleman, one brave gentleman over here, one brave lady over there.
Oh, sorry.
I think it means to leave the world a better place than you found it.
Amen. If only everybody thought that way. Thank you. That was a bold, bold statement. Gentlemen over on this end. Told you we were going to get you exercise. I love my Vanna. She's good. Thank you, Jolene.
Hi, Mama. She's old enough to be my grandma, but I'm just kidding.
Oh.
She graduated from high school the year I was born, so we call me her love child. So, anyways, I agree with leaving the place, leaving it a better place, but serving others, and you'll be served in the end. And volunteering within the associations is part of our call. And when we're asked, step up and actually do it.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. To me, it's to teach others, to be that role model, to lead by example. Kind of everything that we talked about doing. Everything. Leaving footprints in the sand. If you're doing the right thing, others will see it. How we do our job as a role model reflects directly upon us. Whether we realize it or not, those around us are watching everything we do. Whether it be a junior advisor in the agency, whether it be an agency manager, somebody from the home office, even our children. And for me, my grandchildren. My oldest grandchild is 24. She tells me all the time, Papa, I watch what you do. That's what I want to be. You talking about pride. Let one of your granddaughters tell you she wants to be like you. I believe that I have a responsibility to be the best I can possibly be in everything that I do. Don't you? At the end of the day, our obligation as financial advisors is to provide financial stability to the families and businesses we serve. To that extent, to the extent that we do that effectively and efficiently, we fulfill our role and obligation to our respective clients and businesses. Part of that obligation is the responsibility of providing an unbroken chain of service to our clients. What do I mean when I say unbroken chain? When I die, I'm going to break that chain, aren't I? It's my responsibility to step up and make sure that that is an unbroken chain. In my quest to find a successor has been tough. I ask each and every one of you in the audience, and any volunteer, please let me know. Do you have a successor? Do you have a succession plan? Have you ever had a succession plan that just didn't work out? It's not easy, is it? I talked to you many last night and yesterday. Many of you don't have a clue where to begin. There are some success stories in the room. I know of at least one. He and I talk about it all the time. He introduced me, Mr. Hammer. He and his son work together in their practice. Those are rare. Whether it be fortunate or unfortunate, my oldest son is an accountant, public accountant. I had him fully licensed right out of college, right down to his Series 7. He wanted to go for the 7, not me. And he took me to coffee at Starbucks and said, "Dad, you and Mom work harder than I ever want to work in my entire lifetime. You guys are a ball of energy. You work all the time. You still provide for the family, but you're working all the time. I can't see myself doing that." That was a tough thing to swallow. Subsequent to that, I began my quest about 10 years ago, trying to identify someone to succeed me. I started by mentoring people in my local agency. I mentored 3 over a period of years. One left the business. Sales was just not his forte. One came from a wealthy family, and quite honestly, she didn't need the income from the business, and she still holds a broker's contract, works whenever she wants to, and she doesn't have to. The third felt he learned as much as he needed from me and struck out on his own. Still maintains a broker's contract, not all that successful, but he felt he learned everything he wanted from me, and struck out on his own. Next, I tried hiring somebody right out of college. Truth is, he chased me for about 2 years. His mom said, "You need to intern with Charles." So he kept chasing me for 3 years. In his 3rd year of college, I finally relented and said, "Okay, let's try this thing out." He turned out to be a dynamic backroom person. He was more technical than I ever want to be. But he said sales was just not his thing. He couldn't get past that sales aspect. He found a job in Atlanta, and he's still very happy today doing analytical backroom work for a significant financial planner in Atlanta. My current succession plan. At present, I'm doing joint field work with a number of advisors in the metropolitan Atlanta area, doing fee-based financial planning on a split commission basis. What are some of you doing in the audience? Anybody want to provide an example of what you're doing in this area? I'm happy to tell you that since January the 1st, I have entered into a joint work agreement with one of the agents in my local agency in Atlanta. He's been in the business for 15 years, primarily on the group medical side, and decided he was real uncertain about group medical, don't know why, and decided he wanted to learn more about our side of the financial services business. We entered into an agreement where we split everything 60-40. I have my own office. I have my own staff. I have the infrastructure to support the 1,000 pocketbooks that we have represented in our firm. That's 1,600 clients, 1,000 pocketbooks, just the way I keep track. His job is to work with our existing clients, his former group clients, and a couple lists that we purchased of significant individuals in the community to schedule appointments. His job is to put 8 appointments on the book at all times. My job is to supplement that with 4 additional cases per week that he and I both go see together. He services all the existing clients. He does all the paperwork. He does all the underwriting, because I want to teach him how that's done. So far, it's working well. But as you heard in the earlier part of my story, I've been at this for 10 years. It's not easy. In addition to joint field work and my working agreement I've got with Stephen, I do speaking engagements around the United States, mostly to NAIFA chapters. The title of my message is, Who's Going to Fill My Shoes? My hope is through that joint field work and my speaking engagements that my logical successor will emerge. I've been at this for 34 years. I'm age 62. I know my days are numbered. I acknowledge that and accept it. In the interim, I own $1.5 million of personal life insurance payable to my wife, and I am and will continue to pursue that logical successor. Someone to take care of those 1,600 clients like I would. I consider that my personal obligation and responsibility to do it. Like most of you, my clients see what we've done for them as a promise. To the best of my ability, I'm going to succeed in achieving that. At the end of the day, I feel that my situation is not unique to me alone. Most MDRT members and other financial advisors, when asked, will admit that they have not solved or conquered their succession plan. Many admit they have no intention of spending a lot of time on it. It's too hard of a task. They've tried once and it failed. They're just going to die in their boots. But what happens to those clients that we've given those promises to, or even the assumed promise that you're going to be there when I need you? Others are genuinely concerned about the subject, but don't have a clue about how to go about solving it. It remains a to-do item on their annual planning list and their goal list for year to year to year. Others have explored different options and have yet to find a successful solution. There are the rare exceptions like Mr. Hammer, the father-son relationship, the father-daughter, I've seen one of those. Junior-senior mentoring relationships. MDRT sponsors a program that fosters that effort. There are rare occasions where you can sell your business on the open market. There are several different various formulas for that. I've even seen a situation where a husband and a wife were both licensed, fully licensed, and capable of succeeding each other if need be. And the clients seem to like that. Vanna, is there any other ideas in the room? Remember, you're not embarrassing yourself. You're helping others by sharing, okay? Any successful right in front of you, Vanna? Right in front of you.
have a successful story, but I have a question
Yes,
about
ma'am.
this. As a young planner trying to look for opportunities for more veteran people, how would you want to be approached as a younger person going to you to try to buy the business or try to seek succession from someone? I'm noticing when we approach people, it's kind of a sensitive subject because they haven't thought of it, and I'm trying to look at ways to take over, but I'd like a good approach and how you would want that.
The first thing before I would recommend approaching anybody is to make sure that you watch them and make sure that it's a practice that you really want to have. If there was a financial advisor, it's just an example, if there was a financial advisor that wasn't doing things with integrity, the right way, I don't know that I would want to buy their practice. But let's say you do find that person that you like their values, you like how they run their practice, it's a practice of the size you want to buy, then why consider it a sensitive matter? You desire to enter into an arrangement with somebody, it should be an honor to them to have you approach them and say, have you ever thought of how you're going to transition your practice when your day is done? No, I would consider it an honor if somebody came to me and said, Charles, I see the way you operate your practice. That's what I want to be when I grow up. Would you entertain the thought of you and I possibly working together, and if it works out, possibly succeeding you in your practice? Thank you. Great question. Right down front.
So I have also been in the business for 34 years, and when I had the opportunity about 10 years ago to have somebody work in my agency, they seemed to want my income way before they paid their dues. So what I think her past question here was more about that, I think, in my mind, if I had somebody approaching me, is why do you think you deserve my income already?
Good question. I would respond like this. I consider it an honor for that person to have approached me. You control the cards as to whether or not it's going to happen, not them. Okay? I fully acknowledge and by personal experience the fact that they want what you have, they just don't want to pay for it. Nor do they want to work for it to achieve it. That's the wrong person for me. The person that I'm looking for has the drive, has the desire, has the heart, and has the love for this business that I do. If it's not that person, it's not going to work, because that's what my clients are looking for. That's what they look for in me. I hope I answered your question. Good, great question. Down front. Run, Vanna, run! She's got one on the way.
I just have a comment.
Yes, sir.
I was thinking when people were asking me, when are you going to retire? I thought they were curious. I thought they cared. And then finally I got it, that they were wondering who was going to fulfill the promises that we were making. And so I do have 2 successors, and we do a lot of joint work together, and it's worked out very well. I'm also on the other side of one. I have an older agent that I have a buy-sell agreement with who does not want to do joint work and is doing what I would call, he's annuitizing his business. I mean, it's easy to keep letting what stays on the books stay on the books and get the renewals, but by the time he's out of the business, there's going to be nothing left. And in the meantime, his clients haven't been getting serviced. So I've gotten to see kind of the worst of it, and right now, knock on wood, I'm kind of seeing the best of it because I have 2 good successors.
Thank you for sharing. You bet. Another one right up front.
I think so. I've had kind of the exact. My mentor hired me out of college. I knew nothing, and he took me under his wing and helped me to learn the art and the science of how it is we create value. And then I successfully was able to create a triple win for the clients, win for him, and a win for me in acquiring the practice in 2010. So it's definitely doable. And then for myself in broaching, I think that was a really great question. How do you approach someone else that you're maybe interested in? And I'm in the process right now with 2 advisors in my community that would like for me to acquire their practices. And they're both, I've known them for the last 17 years from my NAIFA meetings. And you get to know somebody really good when you have lunch with them every month. And we have lunches on a monthly basis. And you get to know somebody's values and what they're about, and you become comfortable with them in both directions. And the way that I broached the topic was, although I'm only 38, I have a responsibility to fulfill the promises that I've made to my clients. And I could get hit by a Mack truck tomorrow, and I need to make sure that my clients are well taken care of. And so I'm just asking everybody, I'm trying to find out, I'm trying to put together my succession plan, and I'm curious, do you have a succession plan? And the answer that they both said was, so when I broached that topic, it's very non-aggressive. It's just, hey, you might have some ideas for me to use in my succession plan. When I asked them about their succession plan, they said, well, I don't have one, but you bring up a really good point. Hey, maybe we should schedule lunch to talk about that. And then now that's going into these 2 different potential, mergers. So maybe that's helpful to somebody.
Awesome. Thank you, John. John brought up a couple points there. There's a young lady in the back that would like to say something. One, John's 38. He is a product of a succession arrangement. He's looking at others to acquire, possibly, or enter into arrangements with. For those of you, and I know there are a few of you, that's my point. Today is not too early. The young lady that was so bold with her question, now is the time. Not when you're 62. I started this effort at 52. But it's never too early. It's never too early to be looking at the advisors in your community as to who might be someone that I want to approach. It's funny, once you let the cat out of the bag, that's something that you would entertain talking about, people come to you. They heard what was going on. They heard that Charlie might one day retire and he might want to either sell his practice or enter into an arrangement with someone else. And we get conversations over coffee. Yes, ma'am.
I have been looking at different ways to find a successor or be someone's successor.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the approaches, like your experience was somebody, you taught them some of the business and then you left, and your comment, somebody comes in and wants your income, is that they come into the practice, you pay them a salary and their expenses, they're an employee, and then they earn equity in the firm, say over 5 years or 10 years, however old you are. And then they don't take your clients and leave. You don't do joint
Correct.
work, and they have a relationship with the clients, but they're an employee, and then they earn equity. And so you can transition out, and then they have actual ownership and it allows them to be able to pay for the practice over a period of time too. So you get full value, and then they transition into the business smoothly and know the clients and things like that. So.
Excellent comment. Excellent. Thank you. My goal at the end of the day is to provide peace of mind to my wife, my family, my clients, that they will be taken care of when I die, become disabled, or retire. For whatever reason I leave, when my day is done, I want to solve that problem. The graying of the baby boomers, I'm one of them, and the demise of the agency and managerial systems of most insurance companies have created an oversupply of advisors at or nearing retirement age, or at least normal retirement age, where they can no longer choose to do what they used to do, or at least not with the same vim and vigor that we once did. It's created a problem that is a need for us to change what we're doing and how we're doing it so that we can create an environment where we have that unbroken chain of service. The problem that a lot of successful advisors are having result in a lack of continuity for their business that they've spent a lifetime in building. Clients who are concerned, genuinely concerned. This gentleman over here and I were talking earlier about clients asking, you know, you're getting a little bit old. What are we going to do when you're not here? What does that do in the client's eyes, in the client's mind? What are they thinking about? Do I need to change advisors now while I can, or am I going to be dropped like a cold potato? Genuine concerns. The loss of those concerned clients as they move to a younger advisor. This advisor doesn't have the experience that Charles has, or Steve has, or Roger has. They're young. Clients get concerned about those issues. As a consequence, the advisor suffers a decline in revenue and a reduction in business value. I say all that to say this. The earlier you bring about your successor, or an arrangement where in the client's eyes they see that you're teaching that younger advisor everything that you know, and that there's a game plan in place to make sure that the clients will be taken care of, then you don't have that reduction in value. As a matter of fact, they respect that, and your sales, your practice, your revenue increases. Here are some action steps. You might want to grab your pen to ensure that you have a business succession plan that can be implemented as you wish when you have control. Step one is to understand your existing contract with whatever carrier you represent, or in some of our cases, multiple carriers. Second is to validate the market value of your practice. Step three, identify what you want to have happen if you become disabled, die, or hopefully retire. Step four is to identify that successor, or as several in the room have mentioned, possibly successors. Step five is to determine the purchase price and the tax implications, as well as the funding options for your buyout. Step six is to formalize an agreement with an outside professional and to ensure that your plan is funded. So that you get these steps, let me elaborate on each one of them just a little bit. Step one is critical. You have to understand your contract that you currently have with your existing carriers. Does it provide an option for you to sell your business? There are contracts out there, I can tell you, that do not provide for that option. I'm blessed. I'm with a company that encourages that. They want to see the continuity of the practice, of the service to those clients. LIMRA did a study 10 years ago. I served on a panel with some agency management people, other advisors, and a client. And in that engagement, they identified one thing, that most of us are getting old, average age being 55. That was then, 10 years ago. 25 plus years in the business, and most people did not have any idea of a succession plan. In that same panel, they reviewed the contracts of these various carriers. And several of them, several major companies, did not have the ability, they precluded your ability to sell that practice and transition properly. So what I'm saying to you is you need to find that out now and find out what your alternatives are for contractual change, if that be the case, and make sure that you have something to transition and know what it's going to take to get there. If your contract doesn't have the option to do that, seek legal advice as to what your options are. The last thing you want to do is do something that would cause a violation of your existing contract and give the insurance company the opportunity to sever your relationship with them. Step 2 is where the rubber meets the road. What is the market value of your practice? There are many factors that drive market value, but as a general rule, if you have a commission-based practice, the life, health, and annuity part of your equation is worth between 75 basis points and 1 times annual revenue. Your recurring revenue piece of your practice generally is about 2 to 4 times the annual revenues. The higher part of that, the 4 times, is generally reserved for significant equity-based practices that are upwards of $1 billion of assets under management. And those are sought after by institutional buyers. That probably doesn't apply to most of us in the room, but significant producers that have big equity-based practices, fee-based practices, it could very well apply. Step 3 is where you need to be honest and realistic with yourself. We are not immortal. Our hope and prayer is that we will enter into an arrangement with someone to make a logical transition of our practice on our own timing. But we don't have any control over disability or death. What then? What happens if you have not taken the time, the effort, and the energy to have addressed this subject? Step 4 is to identify your successor or successors. Once you have a candidate, you need to make sure that that candidate, that successor, has a relationship with your clients. In too many cases, I've heard of horror stories where they sell the practice. The person that succeeded them has no relationship with the clients. And the practice you've taken a lifetime to build dwindles away. There's no relationship. There was no formal transition of the practice. What a travesty. Step 5 would be to hire an attorney and formalize an agreement to obtain counsel from someone that ideally specializes in financial services practices. You need an agreement that's unique to your situation, not just an agreement, not a boilerplate buy-sell agreement that insurance companies use. That won't do it for you. Hire the best you can afford. Pay for it. It will pay off. Step 6 is to ensure the plan is funded. We work with clients every day, helping them, my business clients, helping them to get a buy-sell agreement properly written, done by an attorney that knows what he's doing, not just somebody that uses things off the internet. Be sure to understand the tax implications of your sale of your practice, of the transition. There are many things to understand. You don't necessarily want a lump sum payout. It may sound good, but understand the tax implications before you do that. When you take these steps, you will be in control of having a business succession plan that will be implemented in the way you want it to happen. You will have succeeded in providing something, the security or satisfaction that your family looks to you to do. Don't be one of the 80% of advisors that deliberately plan to fail. Don't put your family and your clients through that. Make it a priority today. Like Nike says, just do it. I want to close with a poem that drives my motivation to this end. The title of the poem is I've Just Got to Be Successful. You know, I may never be as clever as my neighbor down the street. I may never be as wealthy as some other men I meet. I may never have the glory that some other men have had, but you know one thing? I'll be successful as my little boy's dad. There are certain dreams that I cherish and I'd like to see come true, and there are certain things that I'd like to accomplish before my working day is through. But the task my heart is set on is to guide that little lad. Though I may never come to glory, and I may never gather gold, and men may count me as a failure when my business life is told, but if he who follows after shall be manly, then I'll be glad, because I'll know I've been successful as my little boy's dad. For if I fail that little fellow, I'd have nothing else to boast. For all the wealth and fame I'd gather, all my fortune would be sad if I fail to be successful as my little boy's dad. God bless. Thank you.